Great personality. I think she's gonna be a super fit up front.
Okay, we ready?
Tammy came in today, and I'm so sorry, I know it's lots to shoot off that email, it was such chaos last week.
Erica and Lisa, can you hear us?
Tammy, came in today, she'll be back.
Apparently not.
She's here to do the paperwork,
Hello,
but she's wonderful.
I'm ready.
Great.
We're ready. Are we ready?
Think so.
Lisa and Erica, can you hear us?
Still showing the mute button up
Yeah.
at the top.
Yeah,
Then they can't hear us.
yeah,
It's muted.
yep.
Yeah, now they can hear us.
Erica and Lisa, can you hear us? Okay.
Hi.
Great, thank you very much. We'll call the meeting to order. Town of Winslow, Maine, Town Council meeting, Monday, Monday, December 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Regular council meeting is now open. Lisa, can I have a roll call vote, please? A roll call, please?
Yes, Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion, Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Beth West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Here, we'll all rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight, there is no public hearing portion of the meeting for any ordinances or orders. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, but there is none, so there is nothing to really do. Under communications, first thing I would like to do is,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Can
go
I
ahead.
interrupt?
Yep.
Just before we get started on that, apparently the police chief has a few things he'd like to go over
Yep,
at some point.
yep,
So
sure.
if we could schedule some time in for that,
Yeah, how about department reports?
that works.
Is that, what works for you, Jeff?
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good, yep. So, at this point in time, I would like to make a presentation. Ben Twitchell has been on the council now for 8 years, 9 years. It's been a pleasure to work with Ben for those 9 years. I think I've been on for 12 years, and so 3/4 of the time, Ben, you've been on the council with me. Ben has been just a rock for the council. We haven't always been on the same side of issues, but a lot of issues we have. But no matter what side we were on or other council members, Ben was always professional. He was thorough in his research. And it's been a pleasure, Ben, to serve with you. And I know that this is not the end, I'm sure, of public service for you here. And I would also like to thank Linda for putting up with us and the phone calls and Ben's. And you know, Ben has done it. If I've looked over the last 9 years, Ben has overcome some obstacles that any lesser man would have said, I think I've had enough.
Recording in progress.
But you've stuck it out, Ben, and we have the utmost respect for you and your service to the town of Winslow, especially during this last 3 years where it has been challenging. It's always challenging, but I think it's even been more challenging the last couple of years. And Ben, we thank you as a council. Does anybody else have anything they would like to say before I present to Ben? Having nothing else, I think I said it all, Ben, and I think there's so much more to say as far as that goes, but go ahead, Jerry.
Yes, one of the good things about it, he is one of the only two that have been in the service that's on the council. He was in the Air Force, and he's a great person to deal with and to work with.
And we thank you for all those things, Ben. We'd like to present this to Ben, and thank you very much, Ben, for your service to the town. And under communications too, Lee, you would like to say a few words on rates
Yes.
across America?
I had the privilege of being able to attend the
the Winslow stop of the Wreaths Across America, and I thought it was a phenomenal event. There were some that were there, and I tried to say hi to as many people as I could. But no, I was just blown away. I mean, I attended last year, but because of COVID, it was, entirely an outdoor event. So being able to attend in person at the VFW inside, and the way they presented the wreaths to the 4 World War II veterans that were in attendance from Winslow, and also the Gold Star families were presented wreaths as well, and some ornaments from the Winslow students. I believe the seniors at Winslow, they had made up some ornaments to give to the Gold Star families, and I just thought that, with the turnout, there was, 8 or 10 some odd tractor trailer trucks, plus there must have been, 40, 50 or more law enforcement from across the state, and I just thought it was a really nice event, and it was just an unbelievable event to see in person, and
Okay.
I hope it continues, and I just wanted to
Okay.
let people know how great of a event it was.
Thank you, Lee, for that. We're going on now to reports of committees and commissions. Town Manager's report, Erica?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, esteemed councilors. I do apologize for joining you by Zoom. Most of you know I've been ill and I don't want to pass it to anybody else, so I'm staying away. But I am here, so for the month of November, the big thing, again, was filling vacancies, and we did pretty good at that effort. We have hired a new executive assistant, that's Carrie Ann McAndrew. She's coming to us from Connecticut, and she'll be starting next week on the 20th. So we're really excited to have her coming on board. Jessie, Shea, and Lori Longstaff were hired for the front office. Unfortunately, since I wrote up this report, Lori has decided that she won't be continuing with us, but we do have somebody else who's going to be starting on January 3rd, and that would be Tammy Jo Benedict. So fortunately, we had quite a good pool of applicants for the front office position to begin with, so we were able to draw from some of the other candidates to fill that spot. So Jessie has started with us actually today, and I'm hearing great things about how she's doing already. And then we'll see Tammy Jo starting on January 3rd, after the first of the year. Public Works filled their vacant position with Dean Quirian. He's our new operator, and he started November 22nd. We do still have vacancies in the police officer's position, and as well as the full-time code enforcement officer. And we haven't had any applications for that, but Amos has indicated that he's interested in transitioning to the full-time position at some point in the not-too-distant future. So, if we get applications, we will certainly consider them up until that time. We held the second coffee with the manager meeting on December 1st. I didn't put a lot in here about how that went because this report's supposed to be about November, and it happened in December. But we did have another good group of people come in and come up with ideas. Lots of stuff for what to do with Bay Street, Clinton Avenue, going straight up Sand Hill and such. So I will be bringing those ideas forward to council as well. I would also like to take an opportunity to thank our town employees for raising enough funds for our Thanksgiving fundraiser to provide 4 Thanksgiving baskets to families in need here in Winslow. Sherry Fisher spearheaded that effort, so thank you to her and her son. They collected all the monies, and then they went and purchased all the items for the basket, and those were distributed to Winslow High School. So just really proud of our staff for ponying up those funds and really stepping up to the plate for our folks in need around here. On November 27th, which was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we were graced with a visit from Santa and Mrs. Claus. The arrival was preceded by story time and crafts in the Park and Rec Center and a visit from Santa's reindeer out by the gazebo. The reindeer were such a big hit that we filled the number of slots we had available for people to visit with them almost immediately. Thank you to Amanda for pulling that off on short notice. Then the Clauses arrived in a horse-drawn carriage. They lit the tree in the gazebo out front. And from what I saw on the video, it looked pretty well attended. Unfortunately, I was still out of town at that point, but I look forward to being there next year. We're still awaiting the passage of the federal budget to lock in the congressional earmark funding for the Chaffee Brook Pump Station, but according to Senator Collins and King's staff, we are as sure as we can be that that funding is coming, so that's good news on the funding front. For projects, the website, I actually have had a couple of meetings with the revised people in the last couple of weeks. At the time of this report, we were updating the site map and doing a lot of edits. A lot of those were solidified today. So as soon as we get all the final approvals on the site map, we'll be able to move forward with the rest of the data migration. So it looks like we can expect this to probably be done in January. So that's exciting news. Bangor time payroll system did go live on November 22nd, and we're working through some bugs in the live system. That's not unexpected. Just about every software deployment has some bugs, and the only way to really work through everything is to send it live. To make sure that we catch any errors, we're running both the paper system and the Bangor time system at the same time until we get the glitches resolved. But overall, it seems to be working really well. Dude Solutions, the asset management system, the initial build is complete. I did have to push off some of the testing and training because of the time constraints. There's just not enough time to get everything done right now and do it any justice, and I want to make sure it's done right. So I have deferred our training until January in order to have enough time to do the testing in advance and make sure we get everybody scheduled for training that's going to be using it. I do not have an update on the junior high environmental study. I do get a lot of questions on that, but we just haven't been able to, our contractor is still short-staffed, and he does these studies all over the country, and he's just backed up. So, depending on how long we want to let that go, we can try and look for somebody else, but we're probably looking at about the same response time with just about anybody we go with at this point. And the phone system, it was upgraded in the town office on November 11th. We had very few issues, a couple of little things that had to be taken care of Monday morning. Before Public Works and the library can come on to the network, the fiber installation at the town office needs to be completed. That's scheduled for this week, actually. So once we get that done, we can actually bring the library and Public Works onto our network, and we'll all be interconnected. So those are the big highlights. Just want to really thank the staff for the last couple of weeks. I know last week in particular was very difficult. We've had a lot of people out sick. I did pull the trigger on requiring masks in the town office again, and that is because we are in an unprecedented time of COVID spread right now, and we're just not safe. I'm not going to be at the point where we look at closing the doors or anything, but we need to go back to masking protocols and social distancing protocols. So that is posted out front. But I do appreciate, especially a couple of our staff who were really taxed last week, Audra, Tanya, Lisa. You guys held the fort down while a lot of us, including myself, were not here sick. So really appreciate the effort that you guys put in. So other than that, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate. It's a really wonderful time of year. I hope you all enjoy it, and have a blessed holiday.
Thank you very much, and again, I think I can speak for all the councilors. We thank the Winslow staff for getting us through some of the unprecedented. We've lost some critical people over the last couple months, and we have new people coming in that are just great. And so it is a tough time right now, and hopefully we'll be able to get everybody up and trained. And we appreciate the effort of everybody involved in maintaining services for the citizens of the town of Winslow. And thank you very much for that. Any comments or questions for Erica at this point?
I got a question. On the junior high environmental study, how long has that been going on?
I believe we first reached out to Icon Environmental in July.
How long are we going to look at them before we pull the plug? do so?
Well, that's probably up to council for the most part if you want me to start looking for somebody else. I have spoken with a couple of you who don't feel that there's probably a lot of other options out there, and in the brief research I've done, I haven't found a whole lot of options. Because we were holding the junior high aside for the rest of the school year anyway, I haven't put a huge amount of priority on making sure we get somebody in there quickly. You know, Craig Wilson is the gentleman at Icon Environmental. He knows our timeline. He knows what I'm looking at. So I haven't pushed really hard because we're not going to do anything with that until the end of the school year at a minimum.
And I think the reason why I was staying with that contractor is he's done all the environmental work at the junior high for the last 20 years. He has all the records. He's familiar with the structure itself. And so it seems to be the best fit. If before next meeting, maybe to answer some of our questions, if you could get a tentative time frame within a certain amount of time and then communicate it to us, that at least for the next January meeting, maybe at that point in time, we can have a little further discussion during this portion of the meeting to determine what we have, if necessary, what we have to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on. If there's no other questions for Erica, we'll move on to department reports at this point in time. I know that there's a few people that would like to speak on department reports. Chief McDade, would you like to come up and... Yep, at the podium, please.
Thank you for your time, councils. It's always a pleasure as a police chief to be able to recognize people that work for you for a good job they did. A lot of times, you know, we get recognized when things go bad, not the right way, but this is really a good time. I'm presenting tonight to 4 police officers. Actually, 1 police officer gets 2 awards. It's called a Police Accommodation Award. And these things, Accommodation Award is for a situation that could have got really bad, and it was a bad situation because of the way these officers handled it. It turned out really well. So, if I could have Sergeant Brandon Lund come up front and Officer Bryce Scott come up front. And I'd like to be able to tell you the whole situation with this first incident that took place with these 2 men. But because it was a medical type call, a crisis situation, by law I can only say certain things, but what I will say is that this could have been a really, really bad, deadly call, and because of the way these 2 men acted, it turned out real well. And I want to make a special consideration to Officer Bryce Scott, who's really has 0 experience. He's been here less than a year. He hasn't gone to the full-time academy yet. And in my 33 years in police work, I've never seen a young man perform and act the way he did and take control and just completely do everything he needed to do to de-escalate this situation, so it turned out fantastic. So I'm going to read what I can read you on the reward. I'll put it up here.
Reading glasses, Chief?
Yeah, what I put them.
You're on your head.
Oh. I don't do this much. Okay. You are being awarded the Police Accommodation Award for Outstanding Performance of Duty under extreme difficult condition. On November 9th, 2021 at 2 o'clock in the morning, you responded to a person in crisis. Your quick actions and de-escalation skills prevented yourself or the subject in crisis from serious injury or death. This exceptional conduct was above and beyond the normal call of duty. My sincere congratulations to you and a well-deserved thank you for a job well done. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You can stay right up here. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. You're all set now, have you? Okay. And the second one, Sergeant Lund was lucky. These things always happen at 2 in the morning when everybody else in the world is sleeping. And he happens to work 3 in the afternoon till 3 in the morning. Thankfully, he does a great job and protects the city of Winslow where a lot of people are sleeping. So he was actually, in these 2 things we don't normally have something this extreme happen within a year and a half, and these two things happen within a month, so that tells you something. But this second one, I can have him explain into greater detail without giving the person's name what happened, because I just want you to understand how severe it is. But actually, him and Officer Feeble responded to a drunk driver that was passed out at a busy intersection. And I can't give you his name, but I'll let Sergeant Lund go into detail about what took place.
All right, so about a month ago or a few weeks ago, we got dispatched to a call where a person was completely unconscious at the wheel up on Augusta Road where it merges into Carter Memorial. A passerby tried to knock on the window. The person would not come to. Officer Theobald and I both arrived at that intersection and saw that he was completely out of it. I pulled my cruiser in front of his vehicle in fear that if he would have just, didn't know if it was in gear at the time, thinking that if he was to move forward, it could potentially cause a traffic crash going through the intersection, potentially hit someone head on coming up Augusta Road, or even worse, going over the embankment on the other side of the road, possibly going down into the river. So I pulled the cruiser up. We tried to get the driver to wake up, thinking it was a medical call. We ended up having to break the window out of the car. Thankfully, the cruiser was where it was, because he actually ended up pushing on the brake and gas at the same time, still unconscious, hit the back of our cruiser. Fortunately, it didn't do any damage, and we got the guy out. It didn't turn out to be a medical event initially. It turned out to be that he was so drunk he passed out at the wheel. So he's safe now, we're safe, and nobody got into a traffic crash that night.
So once again, I'll read the certificate, now that I know my glasses. You are being awarded the Police Combination Award for your outstanding performance of duty in an extremely difficult condition. On November 28, 2021, at 2 in the morning, we responded to a drunk driver passed out behind the wheel of a running vehicle at a busy intersection. The quick action prevented further damage, injury, or even death. This exceptional conduct was above and beyond the normal call of duty. My sincere congratulations to you and a well-deserved thank you for the job well done.
Thank you.
Officer Theobald couldn't make it tonight, but he was also with Sergeant Lennon that night. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
And, you know, I'd like to, obviously from the council, I'd like to thank all the police officers that do their duty day to day, and they deal with a percentage of the population that we don't see, but you see regularly, and every day you go out, you're taking a chance, and you're putting your lives on the line for the citizens and for the job that you guys, the passion that you guys love doing. We appreciate everything you do, and we don't know probably 90% of it, but I do know enough to really appreciate you. And 12 years ago, when I first got on the council, if you don't think that councilors get a ticket, Brandon gave me Brandon gave me a ticket in my first week of being on the council, and I'll never forget. No, I've never. No, but that's. I just wanted to say that just because you know that's a history that we have. But thank you for all you do and everything like that. Thank you very much for everything. Moving on with department reports. Peter, is Peter Tivertot? Yeah, Peter's here. So Peter, would you like to come up?
So, just a couple of things. We continue to provide in-person learning for 5 days a week. Now, that may not sound like a big deal because you might think well, that's what schools are supposed to be doing. But, as you know, we have a lot of schools around us that are unable to do that because of COVID, because of the rise in the cases. I truly feel it's because of the efforts of everyone that is working, who are working so hard to make it happen, whether it be staff members, teachers, administrators, our nurses. We have people stepping up to the plate every day. We have people who are absent from work. We need to fill the holes. There are not necessarily anybody to fill those holes, so it requires people not taking their planning periods or doing whatever they need to do in order to make it happen. So it's a tremendous amount of stress. Bus drivers. We have 2 bus drivers who have been out for a time. We had Shea Phillips driving one of the buses. We have a assistant principal driving a bus. Both of them are licensed, by the way. But it's just a point that I'm trying to make, and everybody is doing something extra in addition to make this year work. The winter sports season is underway. We started last week, and it will continue. We have certain guidelines in place, of course, to continue to be safe. We follow still following the CDC recommended guidelines, so we're still following that. We received final approval of the project in order for the elementary school to add the 4 classrooms on with the use of the funds that we had discussed with you. The last piece that we needed to have was your approval for the bond money, so I thank you very much. So we have that final approval, we can now move forward with that. You did a very nice job talking about the wreaths across America. I'd like to give a shout out to Ronnie Rodriguez. I think he's sitting out back there. Ronnie represented your community exceptionally well at this event. I believe Ronnie had a tremendous amount to do with planning this event. He contacted us at the school to see if we could participate as well. Our chorus sang multiple songs. They did a really nice job, led by Chris Vigu, our choral director. And then we had 2 students who were at the event, as Lee mentioned, who created wreaths for the families, 25 wreaths, something unique to Winslow. So you had a wreath that was made out of wood. On one side of it, it had the wreath, picture of the wreath. On the other side, it had a picture of your fort. So that was something that was handed out to the Gold Star families who were in attendance. And I think it was a very special moment for them. The last thing I want to report is whenever you lose a faculty member to an unexpected death, it hits everybody exceptionally hard. And that happened with us this past week where we lost a faculty member, a longtime faculty member and football coach by the name of Pete Baldwin. Pete is an individual who was entrenched not only in the school community but in the Winslow community. It's very difficult to find someone who doesn't have a story about Pete as he helped others with whatever it is that they needed help for. It was a very difficult week. It was only because of the students and the staff pulling together that we were able to make it through that difficult week. I want to say that, again, I want to give a shout out to the fire department. The incident occurred at school. Fire department was immediately contacted. Within 4 minutes, they were on the scene. Everybody worked exceptionally hard at doing everything that they possibly could in that moment. And unfortunately, it didn't end in the way that we wanted it to. Pete will be a tremendous, tremendous loss. There is a graveside memorial this Saturday, and that will be held at the Lewis Cemetery, which is on the Colorado Road in Oakland, beginning at 10 a.m. for any who would like to attend. That's all I have.
Thank you, Peter, and no words can express the contribution that Mr. Balder gave to the community and to the kids of the Winslow school community. That's for sure.
Totally agree.
And we'll move on to, is there any other department heads that are either online or in the audience that would like to give an update regarding their department at this point in time? Seeing no things, I'll take a motion to.
So moved.
Moved by Ben, seconded. All those in favor of reports, please raise your right hand. Not opposed, 7-0. Lisa. We'll move on now to public comment section of the meeting. It's at this point in time that anybody with public comment can go up and now we have a limit on public comment to 2 minutes, but we can, under our council rules, extend that. Steve, would you like to come up and have a public comment, please?
Sure. Mumble as it is, and with this it might be worse, so if you can't hear me, I can do something different.
We can hear you right now.
First of all, thank you, Chair, for letting me speak. I've learned a lot over the last year, namely it's about patience. You guys have been very patient in waiting to see what's going to happen with well, I'm trying to drum up some answers for you from the attorney based on your questions coming in. It's been a long road because there's a lot of these paper street issues that have come up over the years, and also we've had issues with real estate markets going crazy, and real estate attorneys have been extremely busy. And I was told when I researched the state of Maine, even into New Hampshire, trying to find a competent legal representation to answer any questions that I had regarding my situation. In doing that, I located John Cunningham out of Wheaton Peabody, Florida, and he seemed to be the best representative for the situation. But in that process, I had to wait, and as you know, we had to wait a while. Fortunately, this past week, I received an email answering all the questions I had, and in return, I asked him to forward a letter so I can provide it to you folks, hopefully at the January meeting, to clarify any questions you may have. And then allow you to take the vote. That's kind of the nutshell of the whole thing. Peter, thank you for what you're doing at the school. I got an 11-year-old daughter that goes there, and it's good to know that she's well taken care of. I hear all the protocols that you guys are doing at school, and it makes me feel good. Coach, obviously, football coach, coached my sons, and it is a great loss. He's a lot for the kids. But, other than that, if you have any questions regarding what, where we're at.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if Erica has any thoughts on this right now, because I know that our attorney, Bill Lee, has some questions that probably need to be answered also. Is that correct, Erica?
Well, first, we're not supposed to have a back and forth in the public comments, so just bringing up that point of order. But yes, Bill Lee says that is in Mr. Martin's attorney's court right now. There is going to be, if we bring this back up onto the table to be voted again, there will have to be a public hearing in advance. And right now it is back at the planning board level. So it would have to start there again. But we are going to have to renotice all of the abutters and basically start that process again because too much time has elapsed.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for, actually, we can't in public comment, Steve, have questions back and forth. So in a public hearing we can, but in public comment we really can't. But if anybody has any questions, I think everybody has your email, or through Erica, we can, if we have any questions, we can answer those questions, have those questions answered.
All right, well, I'll just hang around if you have any questions.
Okay, that's fine. Yep. Continue on with public comment section of the meeting. Is there anybody else right now who would like to have public comment? Lisa or Erica, was there any submissions on written public comment at this point in time? No.
No, that we're not.
So I'll close the public comment section of this meeting, unless anybody else has any other. We'll go into now table business. I'll take this in order. Ordinance number 7-2020, an amendment to the Winslow zoning map rezone portion of lot owned by C&L Real Estate on tax map 13, lot 115, from high-density residential zone HDR to contract zone high-density residential zone CZD/HDR. The portion of the lot described as lots 87, 88, and 89 in Dunbar Acres and Dunbar Acres Annex subdivision, recorded in the Kimball County Deeds Registry. What is the pleasure of the council? So moved.
Second?
You're taking it off the table, guys?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. You got that, Lisa? Motion by Jeff, seconded by Lee, to remove it from the table. I think I need a vote on that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Roll call, I think I need a roll
Yes.
call vote. Yep, okay, go ahead.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
No,
Did you say yes or no?
no,
No.
no.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 6-1.
Now it is off the table, open up for discussion.
I make a motion, well, it's actually not a motion. This is gonna be dead as of tonight anyway,
Yep.
so I think we just need to take a vote, shoot it down.
Okay. Erica, is that correct? I just want to make sure that this is the correct before we move forward. So that there's, I know this has been a long-going issue, and I know there's been a lot of twists and turns. I just want to make sure that this is the proper way to defeat this at this point in time, or to make it go away.
Yes, I did consult with Bill Lee to make sure that this is the way we should go about it. You do take it off the table and vote it down to remove it from the table. That one's 12 months old. The other one that you have tabled can remain. There's still time left on that one.
Okay, we'll get ordinance number, if there's no further discussion, ordinance number 7-2020. Could I have a roll call vote on that, please, Lisa?
What are you doing on this, Mr. Chairman, now, in this roll call vote? Putting it back on the table?
Well,
No.
if we, no,
No,
this
it's
is
on the table
for, it's
right
on the
now.
table, it's off the table now.
I understand that,
It
but you're
is
putting it back
open
on,
up
you're
for
voting to
discussion.
pass it.
Well, that's up to each individual to make up their mind whether they want to pass it or to defeat it. That's going to be, if you defeat it, then it's dead, and that would be dead.
And my understanding was if we didn't do anything with it, it was gonna be dead tonight anyway.
It's gonna be dead anyway. Yep, this is what the council feels at this point in time, is to vote on this issue right now. So I'll have, if there's no further discussion, I'll have a roll call vote. Lisa, please.
Is there a motion on the table?
Yes, there's a motion to remove it off the table. It's off the table, we've just had discussion. Go ahead, Erica, clarify this if you would.
So the motion, someone needs to make the motion to move the question, to have the vote.
Okay,
I did discuss this with Bill Lee. It won't automatically come off without council taking action. Even though we've passed that 12-month period on this particular zoning ordinance request. So he said we do have to go through the motions to actually have
Okay.
council take the vote.
so I'll take a motion to,
So moved.
I'm making a motion to defeat this ordinance.
Jeff was first, you're second,
Yep.
is that fine? So we got a first and second, now we'll have discussion on the motion, please. If there's no discussion on the motion, ordinance number 7-2020. I mean, we could go into a history of where we got here, but I don't think that's really necessary tonight. We all been involved in this situation for a very lengthy time. So I think that at this point in time, I don't think any further discussion is really necessary unless somebody wants to. We'll take a vote on this. Lisa, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, quick question, was Peter first or Jeff first?
Jeff was first, Peter second.
Thank you. Roll call, Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Motion is defeated.
Moving
I
on.
mean, motion passes.
Yeah, thank you.
Ordinance is defeated. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Ordinance number 3-2021. I know this is not going away as of today. This is providing for the amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone a portion of tax map 13 owned by Steve Martin. The portion is described as lots 87, 88, and 89 of the Dunbar Acres and Dunbar Acres Annex subdivision from high-density residential district to mixed-use district. What's the pleasure of the council at this point?
Can I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead, question.
Erica, according to Bill Lee, if we take this off the table, then we have to have public hearings again?
That is correct. And it will have to start at the planning board level.
So,
It's tabled on their agenda as well. And it has been continually tabled for the same amount of time. That particular ordinance hadn't been moved forward by the planning board yet because the legal questions about the paper street were raised pretty much immediately after that started going through. In either case, Bill Lee indicates that because of the amount of time that has passed, the abutters need to be given another notice and hold another hearing for them.
So we're better off not even acting, just leave it tabled.
Let's not act on this, I wanna talk to Bill Lee, I wanna see that in writing. Okay, let's leave it alone, let's leave it tabled, right?
Okay. We have no motions on the floor at this present time, so taking no action at this point, we'll leave this ordinance tabled, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, just moving forward at this point in time. Old business, order number 12-2021, providing for an amendment to Chapter 3, Article 1, 3-5 of the Winslow Town Code titled Dogs Continuing Nuisance by adding the underlined, strike-through language in the attached section. We went over this last week.
So moved.
So moved by Ben, seconded by
Jerry.
Jerry. Any discussion on this change in the dog nuisance? If there is no change, we'll have it's an ordinance, so we'll have to have a roll call vote. Lisa, please.
Yes, Peter Drappa,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
passes 7-0.
7-0. Ordinance number 13-2021, providing for the amendment of zoning change 14 by adding section 14-80X titled photographic record required by adding the following language: a applicant for a permit for development within the shoreline zone shall provide to the municipal permitting authority pre-construction photographs and no later than 20 days after completion of the development, post-construction photographs of the shoreline vegetation and development
So
site.
Second.
Moved by Ben, seconded by Jeff. Discussion, please. Amos isn't here, right, tonight? No, he's not, okay. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote on ordinance 13-2021, please.
Peter Drappa,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes. Order number
passes 7-0.
7-0, thank you. Order number 31-2021, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign a 3-year contract with the Maine Association of Police, MAP, representing Winslow Police Department, Swan,
So
Thurston,
moved.
This
Second.
is the second reading. Moved by Ben, seconded by Mr. Kirian. Council Kirian, open for discussion. If there is no discussion, can I have a roll call vote on order 31-2021, please, Lisa?
Peter Drappa,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Did Jerry say yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen,
Yes.
passes 7-0.
Under new business, order number 34-2021, providing for authorization to change the part-time finance clerk position authorized in the FY 2022 budget to a full-time finance clerk with a salary range of between $7.07 to $19.67.
So moved.
Moved first by Jeff, seconded by Peter.
I second it.
Open up for discussion at this point in time.
Who's our finance clerk right now?
That position is the one that was filled by Lori Longstaff, who decided not to continue employment with us, and we have now got the new person coming in starting January 3rd. This would have been Linda Bard's position previously.
Is there any further discussion? And budgetary for this, was this already in the budget or for
The full-time
2022?
position was not in the budget.
So, is there any other discussion on this? If there's no further discussion, I'll take a roll call vote on Order 34-2021.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Clary.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes?
Ray Karen.
Yes.
First reading passes 7-0.
Resolution number 44-2021, providing for application for an on-premises liquor license renewal by McGrillis Russo Post 8835 BFW 175 Veteran.
So move.
Second.
First by Jerry, seconded by Ben, open for discussion. Just Lee will recluse himself from this. He mentioned at the meeting as he is a member of the VFW. So it's just a show of hands on a resolution. All those in favor of 44-2021, raise your right hand. All those opposed, 6-0 with one abstain.
Thank you. And I left the page from the liquor license for the council to sign.
I have it right
And
here.
thank you. If you can just pass it around and then leave that for me and I will pick it up in the morning.
Yep, sure, no
Thank
problem.
you.
Yep. Resolution number 45-2021, providing for approval of application renewal for automobile graveyard junk and permit for Adam Penny of R&K Auto Salvage, Morrow
So
Road.
move.
Second.
Jerry and Ben, first and second. Any discussion? If no discussion, that's just a show of hands. Anybody's in favor, raise your right hand, please. And it's unanimous, I believe. We have one discussion item for tonight, is painting at the library. We have Lisa here from the director of the library. Lisa, I think that maybe we should have you come up and give a little brief history of it just before we start discussion. I think that would be very helpful.
Good evening, everyone. A few weeks back, we got a phone call from a young lady inquiring about a piece of artwork that's been hanging in the library for, I think, 15 years or so. It's, if you've been in the library, it's a sketch of a little girl that hangs in the children's area. It was donated by the artist to the library. She was a local artist from a local family, and it's been hanging there ever since she donated. She has, unfortunately, since then passed away. The woman who contacted us about the sketch is the artist's niece, and the sketch is of the niece when she was a young girl, and she wanted to know if we could give her the piece of art. And generally speaking, when something is donated, we generally don't remove it from the collection unless there's some extenuating circumstances. So since it was donated by the artist and it's a local family, and I was under the impression that there was still family in the area, I explained to her, generally speaking, we don't do that. But since it's town property, if she wanted to contact the town office and inquire in that direction, that I gave her the contact information for the town office and Erica's name and left it at that.
Okay, can you stay right there for a few minutes
I'm
if you would?
happy to answer
Lee,
any
you brought this up as a discussion item. You
Yeah,
have-
I mean, I had asked originally to bring it up as a discussion item. I was approached by a local resident to ask questions about this, and I really had no knowledge of what was really transpired through the conversations, and that's why I had asked to put it on a discussion item. I have not been contacted by the young lady which I was told that she would be in contact with me, and I haven't heard a single word. So at this point, I don't really have anything to question or add, because I don't have any other information or facts to present to the council.
Okay, Erica?
So the young lady in question did contact me after speaking with Lisa. And Lisa gave you a pretty good outline of what the situation is. Her email to me expressed how they did not have access to much of her aunt's artwork anymore. Most of it, apparently, for some reason or other, it has disappeared along with her. And this being a family piece with a family member as subject, that's why she's so interested in having it. She also offered to pay $1,000 for the piece and give that to the library as a donation in lieu of the painting. And I had told her at that point that it was something that I needed to discuss further. I respect Lisa's position on what we do with the library pieces and donations. So I thought it was best if council were to weigh in on your feelings about how we should proceed on this.
It is now, does anybody have any questions for either Lisa or for Erica, or any thoughts on this matter? Go ahead, Ben.
As my final thing here, after 9 years, I say let people have the thing because it's a family portrait. So, that's my thing.
Go ahead, Lee.
If I could add, I mean, where it is, you know, of the subject that the person in the drawing is the person that wants it back from a family member that has since passed. I mean, I don't really have any objections to, you know, it returning back to the family. And I mean, I don't really believe that Lisa has any real monetary value.
No, I don't, and I have no objection to returning it to the family if that's the council's decision. I just didn't know the family, didn't know the circumstances, and felt it was the kind of question that the council should decide.
Go ahead, Peter.
I don't disagree with any of this. The issue I have is, what are we gonna do going forward when a individual donates $250,000 to the library, in which we can take from the interest in a trust, and that individual dies and its heirs comes to us and says, you know what, he couldn't afford to do that at the time and we want that money back. I understand the emotion that goes with this, but you gotta understand what practice you're gonna instill by doing it. And believe me, it'll come up again.
Well, I have seen issues in families where, you know, two cousins have fought over a teacup, so anything's possible.
Go ahead, Eric.
I would point out that a monetary donation is somewhat different. You've got a monetary value that can be attached to a donation, but a donation of an item is different. Money, when you're donated money, you spend the money. There's no real expectation that we still have that money 15 years later. There is an expectation that we have an item that was donated 15 years later. So it is somewhat different. While I respect that we are setting precedent, and I'm usually the first one to point out that we're setting precedent with everything we do, I do think that the circumstances surrounding this particular situation are probably not going to be at high risk of setting precedent because of the conditions surrounding why we would even consider giving this back. In addition, the lady has offered to pay for the item. So we're not exactly giving something back and not getting anything. We're still getting a donation. It's just instead of a piece of art, we would then be getting money.
That would be the only way I would be in favor of it, if we got a monetary value for something.
Here's my feeling on, and I understand, Peter, and I appreciate that. Here's my thoughts on that issue, this issue, is when somebody donates something that, and then the item is donated and then passes away, you're always trying to say, what is the intent of that donation? Would it be of the deceased person? Would it be that it stays in the library, or that it would be returned to a family member? So in this particular case, the lady is deceased, so it's very hard to think about what she would want to do, and you have to, if you're gonna err to some time, you gotta err on, at the time she donated it, it was for a permanency place in the library and now. So you have to make sure that this individual, which I have no issues with that, and understand fully why she would want the picture. It would seem to me, I know that there are other relatives in the area, some written type of correspondence as to why and the significance of her to that thing, and other family members to try to get a consensus on what the deceased person intent would be at this particular stage, instead of relying on one. And I know that there's relatives around, and I don't think it would be that hard to get other relatives involved so that we could be sure the intent of the deceased person in this case. And I think that with a little bit of work, and I don't know if this is a council decision or if you guys were satisfied with that the intent would be that it would be back, whether you and Erica could make that decision on your own. And what's the feeling of the council on that particular thing, Rocky?
Why couldn't we just make a photocopy of it to keep a copy here, give the original back to them? I think that, you know, this person, if other family, if the intent, like you said, was something that, you know, went back to the family, I'd rather see the family get it. $1,000 seems like a lot, so I would be, you know, if you want some monetary value, I mean, even like 100, I'd hate to see where it's a family thing to
Well,
put $1,000.
if we were to make a high-quality copy to hang in the place,
Correct.
it would probably be up around that figure
I don't
for,
know, I don't think it costs
Yeah.
that much to get.
yeah, for framing and
check into
everything.
it, I mean.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure,
Or
but,
if they would do that, if they would photocopy and frame another copy, let us have that and we give them the original.
I'm open to any suggestion the council wants to do, yeah,
Again, what Ray said, what was the intent of the person that donated?
Correct.
Can't ask them.
The person that donated it wanted her niece to have it, she'd have given it to her.
And that's what I say.
I don't
Find
know.
The family, if you could find family that,
I don't know.
I think if we made an effort to find other family members, and the consensus was to be overwhelming that, geez, this is, and you can understand why she would want the picture. I think we have to do a little due diligence and just say, hey, what are other family members, like, I know that there's a brother around, and I know that there's a, you know what I mean, there's a father around too, the father and the brothers in the neighborhood, and, you know, and I think that would be a good, and then we would ensure that the intent would be, yes, this would be an intent. And then at that point in time, go into discussions about photocopying and other things in that, and if you need any guidance from the council after those type of things, then you could come back to the council and say, hey, this is what we've worked out and this is the intent. Erica, what's your thoughts on that?
I can certainly reach out to her and see if she can have some other family members contact me with their feelings about this particular piece of artwork.
Yeah, with the intent, I think, of, if we can work it out, is to give the original, I think that's back to the family, if in this particular case, that can be worked out. And we're sure that that is what, under best diligence, that's the intent of the donor at that point in time. What's your feeling on, any other feelings on this issue?
No, I
I
would
think-
just want to, yeah, I think we could get some feedback from other family members that are in the area, and
Okay.
even if they're not in the area, I mean, try to reach as many other family members and get a consensus on what they feel as a family,
Yeah.
and I agree with what Rocky said, that, you know, if we do give back to the family, we should at least get something, you know, to replace it, a copy, a framed copy of some sort.
Yeah, why don't Lisa or Erica, if you guys can work that out, and we can at least see what, at the next council meeting, I think there's plenty of time to say, hey, yeah, this is, and then at that point in time, we'd have more information, we feel better about it. If you still need guidance at that point in time of saying that, this is what I think the direction is. Okay, any other further questions on that? If there is no further questions on the discussion items, there is no executive session. And on executive session, Erica, just one thing. I believe that you might have got a tax abatement request, maybe, Lisa?
Yes. It was turned in and the application was not signed. The applicant's son is going to be coming in to pick it up, get his mother's signature. It'll be returned and added to the January agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you for that. Erica, any final thoughts, closing, besides just getting healthy?
No, sir, just trying to stop coughing and dripping everywhere before I venture back into the office. And I'm trying not to share the love, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, okay. If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Ben.
Ben, this is your last motion to adjourn. Seconded by Jerry, we'll just do that, how's that? Just, okay. I've heard that many times, I'm gonna miss that, we'll adjourn the meeting.